All right, let's get it going with some must starts this week, starting at the quarterback position. I'm going to go with Justin Fields. He's taking on the Eagles defense, giving up the least points per game to opposing quarterbacks, but I don't want you guys to look at that right now. He is playing far too well to sit this week just because he's going against an elite secondary. He has a very high floor with his rushing ability. I mean, he's rushed for at least 60 yards in his last 7 games. It's going to be a good test, but I just don't see anybody outmatching Fields right now. He's playing out of his mind. There's no way that I can tell you to sit him once playoffs start, even though he has a tough matchup right now. I would say ride the hot hand, stay with Fields against the Eagles defense this week. Next guy I want to talk about is going to be Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott taking on the Jaguars defense, giving up the 8th most points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Look for Prescott to really get out of the slump that he's currently in. I mean, the Jags are playing good as late, which means that they're going to have some type of throwing matchup between Dak Prescott and Trevor Lawrence. He should be able to put up quite a few yards, and I'm saying Dak Prescott, it wouldn't be outlandish if we see him throw for 400 yards. So Dak Prescott, somebody that you might want to keep your eye on. If you have him on your roster, he could be a good guy to start this week for the playoffs. Next guy I want to talk about is going to be Kirk Cousins. He's going against a Colts defense who's kind of in the middle of the pack as far as points per game allowed to opposing quarterbacks. He absolutely smashed the Lions last week, throwing for over 400 yards, and he should be able to throw on a very beatable secondary here for the Colts. They're not really what they once was last year, so Kirk Cousins, they're on a hot streak as well. He's going to find Justin Jefferson. There's nobody going to be holding him down. Start Kirk Cousins in your lineup. Now let's go ahead and go over here to the running back position. The first guy I want to talk about is going to be Bam Knight. Bam Knight going against the Lions defense, giving up the 8th least points per game to opposing running backs, but he's clearly the lead back. Don't hear what I'm not saying. Yeah, the Lions, they are pretty good against the run, but he had 17 carries last week, and volume is king. Coming into the playoffs here, you want someone that's going to be toting the ball. You want somebody who's going to give you the most opportunities possible to put up some points, and Bam Knight could be your guy. I mean, like I said, they're going against a decent defense, but you just have to play the volume here. Next guy I'm going to talk about is going to be Najee Harris. Najee Harris playing against the Panthers defense, who's kind of in the middle pack, but again, like I was talking about with Bam Knight, he's averaging 16 carries and 70 yards the last 5 weeks. This should be a close game, which does bode well for Harris. I mean, you want the opportunities, right? Just like I was saying, it's playoff time, guys and girls. We need to get players, especially your running backs, who's going to get their hands on the ball. Bam Knight and Najee Harris are 2 people that can produce for you this week. Last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Alvin Kamara. He's going against the Falcons defense, giving up the 13th most points per game to opposing running backs. And I know Alvin Kamara has been straight dog water this season. He may have had 2 really good games. Other than that, you really don't even want him in your lineups. But he has had success overall in the Falcons in this career. Didn't have too much success with the Falcons early on this year, but he should be the focal point this week. I think Alvin Kamara is somebody you can slip into your lineups and be very, very happy that you did. I think you'll have a good week this week. I know a lot of people are probably sat on the last few weeks, but get him in your lineup, at least in a flex spot. Start Alvin Kamara. Let's go over and go to the wide receivers. First off, we're going to talk about Garrett Wilson. Wilson going against the Lions defense, giving the 3rd most points per game to opposing wide receivers. He has turned into a monster. This rookie is not a rookie no more. He's running routes like he wants to be. I mean, he's getting the ball thrown to him constantly. He is the guy. I mean, Elijah Moore, who? I mean, Garrett Wilson is producing. He didn't have a kind of a bad game last week, but I think he's going to bounce back. I mean, if last week was his floor, I mean, come on, you want that in your lineup. He's got a pretty safe floor, definitely with White at quarterback. We have to see if he's going to play, but all signs as of right now of recording this is that White will be starting at quarterback. And Garrett Wilson and Mike White have got some type of combination going together. Get Garrett Wilson in your lineup. The next guy we're going to be talking about is Devonta Smith. Smith going against the Bears defense, giving up the 10th least points per game to opposing wide receivers. The Bears have a banged up secondary right now. Yeah, of course, their stats look good, 10th least, but this is a team that you could probably pick on through the air. I mean, A.J. Brown isn't the only primetime wide receiver on this team. Devonta Smith can make some plays, and he can blow up at any time. He's had some boom or bust type of games this season. I think this could be an actual boom game for Devonta Smith. The people that they do have left on the Bears secondary probably going to be focusing on A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith could be somebody sneakily you could play into your lineup. Get Smith in your lineup. Last but not least, he was actually a player of the week last week as well. I'm talking about Zay Jones. Zay Jones going against the Cowboys defense, probably middle of the pack as far as the secondary goes, but he's averaging 11 targets a game the last 4 weeks. This guy, he's getting the target. Trevor Lawrence is having trust in him. He's getting the ball quite often. You got to get him in your lineup. Like I was saying with the running backs, you want people that's going to have the opportunities, and Zay Jones is definitely getting those opportunities. It should be a close matchup, which would definitely see Lawrence airing it out with Dak Prescott. They're going to go back and forth. Get Zay Jones in your lineup. The next guys we're going to talk about is the tight end spot right here. Let's go ahead and first off, we're going to talk about Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz going against the Jaguars defense, who's given up the 9th most points per game to opposing tight ends. It's all really about potential here. There's not a lot of tight ends that we really want to talk about. A lot of tight ends just make you want to throw up. So you got to find the guys who have the potential of giving you those 15, those 20-point type of games. Dalton Schultz is one of those guys. We are in the playoffs, y'all. Every start counts. I'm here. I've been poaching all year long. I want you guys to get wins in your leagues, and Dalton Schultz is the kind of start that you need to get that win. Next guy we're going to talk about is David Njoku. Njoku going against the Ravens defense, who's about the middle of the pack, but he is just a target monster from Deshaun Watson. I mean, he's a very, very safe floor for a tight end. I mean, Deshaun Watson is trying to find his go-to guy. Is it going to be Amari Cooper? Is it going to be David Njoku? Right now, it looks like it's going to be Njoku. Volume plus production equals fantasy tight end gold, and that's what you have in Njoku. Get him in your lineups. Next guy we're going to talk about is going to be Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram going against the Cowboys defense, giving up the 2nd least points per game to opposing tight ends, but hear me out. He had the game of his life last week. 11 receptions, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You have to ride the hot hand. He's somebody you have to get into your lineup. Don't let the Cowboys defense scare you, even though they are very good against the tight end. If Evan Ingram's hot, they're throwing the ball. It should, like I've been telling you guys, Zay Jones and everything else, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, they're going to be airing it out. Evan Ingram's going to get his slice of the pie. Get him in your lineup. Now on to the Bengal Tiger Starts of the week. The first Bengal Tiger start of the week we're going to talk about is at the quarterback position, and I'm going with Mike White. White going against the Lions defense, who's given up the most points to opposing quarterbacks. This kid has heart. He was beat to crap last week. If any of you guys seen the game, he sees Zach Wilson in the rearview mirror. It was already named that the coach put Zach Wilson ahead of Joe Flacco. If Mike White can't go or if he gets injured, Zach Wilson will step in to be the quarterback over the backup. And I don't think Mike White wants to let this go. He has an opportunity of a lifetime to be the quarterback for the New York Jets, and I don't think he's going to let any type of injury hold him back. He's going to give it everything he got. If you're going into the playoffs and you got Mike White, put him in your lineup. He's been a very good quarterback, and now he gets the Lions defense, who everybody shreds through the air. He's going to be having a boom game as long as he starts. Get Mike White in your lineup. The next Bengal Tiger start of the week, we're going at the running back position, talking about how do you say this? Isaiah Pacheco? I don't know. I don't know how to say the first name, but it's going to be Mr. Pacheco here, going against the Texans defense, giving up the most points per game to opposing running backs. The Texans rush defense is cock-a-doodle. I mean, Pacheco's had at least 13 carries the last 5 weeks, and with that, at least 66 rushing yards. Pacheco is getting the opportunities, he's getting the yards, and now he gets the Texans. I think he's going to have an explosive game this week. Get Pacheco in your lineups. Next Bengal Tiger start of the week at the wide receiver position, we're going to talk about Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman getting the Vikings defense, who's giving up the 2nd most points per game to opposing wide receivers. He has an amazing matchup, and yes, Matt Ryan has struggled, but he should be only target that Matt Ryan is even going to be looking at this week. I mean, the Vikings defense has recently been really giving up those deep balls. That's where Michael Pittman can shine. It should be a bounce back type of game for Michael Pittman. Get him in your lineups this week. The last Bengal Tiger start of the week at the tight end position, we're going to go with Greg Dulcich. And why? Well, he's taking on the Cardinals defense, and I've told you guys all season long, get the tight ends who play the Cardinals in your lineup. I don't care who they are. The Cardinals stink at guarding the tight end. Get Greg Dulcich in there. They're averaging, the Cardinals are giving up the most points per game to opposing tight ends. You always start your tight ends and get these Cardinals. And even if Russell Wilson doesn't play, Dulcich is a must start this week.